You truly are the strongest when you are in the middle of a battle that decides the fate of the entire world. And you can just start walking and talking without a care in that same world. What's up, guys? Punks here, and here we are to do a live review of chapter 231 of Jujutsu Kaisen, which is known as The Battle in the Demon-Infested Shinjuku, Part 9. AKA round 2 of Sukuna versus Gojo. And this chapter is kind of a return to form. Notably, I've had mixed. I mean, I do like it. That's a weird thing. I say I have mixed opinions, but the domain on domain by domain for domain of domain around domain of domain, like legitimately the Omega domain battles we've been having for the past couple chapters, they've been cool, but like I did kind of come to see fisticuffs of the strongest and not like glimpses of fisticuffs. I do like this chapter a whole lot more because it feels a whole lot more tangible, if you know what I'm saying. Like the domain stuff was really cool. It led to some really cool cliffhangers. I'd love to see how their domains interact. I think there was some nonsense in that domain stuff, but that's mainly the Gojo Glazer in me. So I am super duper happy to see these two just get back to work. You know what I'm talking about? But let's not waste any more time and let's hop right into it. Editing me. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, I have it on me, and I keep it on me at all times. But let's not waste any more time, and let's hop right into it. So open up, and we do get to see that Kusakabe asks a very simple question. Hey, who here has ever been seriously punched by Gojo? That's a good question. Like, I mean, under what circumstances would you need to be punched by Gojo? But like, hey, you know, you could be sparring, you could be chilling. And the chapter opens up with a sudden admission. And at first I didn't get this, but then, you know, I read the chapter. But we do get to see that Maki is apparently excluded from this. I guess that makes sense. Presumably this is gonna sound bad. Pre-awakened Maki was likely too fragile. Like, because notably he says seriously punched by Gojo. Like, presumably seriously means like he was trying a little bit, like not too much. Like maybe I'm assuming every one of them has been like hit by Gojo playfully, but like actually Gojo's trying to do something remotely close to damage to you. I'm assuming that's the serious punch here. And so Maki's silent, never. Inumaki can't speak, so obviously that's a never. And even Itadori, I guess he just didn't spend enough time with Gojo. He never really did spend enough time with Gojo to actually properly get hit by him. But with that being the case, Panda says, I've seriously punched him before. Didn't end up touching him though. And I think now here's the thing, look at this. Is this a shared line? I can't tell if this is a shared line because there is that little like bit of the speech bubble here, which implies that Itadori is saying this too, because obviously it wouldn't be Inumaki. Bro can't speak. But for that, I will not slander Panda, because you know that's different. I thought in the Raws, I thought it said that Panda like got seriously hit by Gojo, but fine, Panda, you get to live another. No, actually no, because see that's the thing. Panda's saved. He is saved by the fact that that's a shared speech. If that little arrow wasn't right there pointing to Itadori and Itadori's mouth wasn't open, I would. Which one you want? Which one you want, Panda fans? Which one you want, Panda? I got options. Which one you want? But regardless, Panda fans are cool. You know, I can't knock it off because usually Panda fans have good taste everywhere else. I don't know why y'all like Panda, that disgusting freak of a creature, but I'll let it slide. I'll let it slide because Itadori said it, and like I love Itadori. So you lucky, Panda. You lucky, my friend. But regardless, we do get to see that there are two people who have actually been they've gotten a love tap by Gojo, and it is the second only to Satoru Gojo in unusual abilities. It's unusual abilities. I don't know. That's the thing. Question: which one is it? Is it just second strongest, or is it unusual abilities? Because the official says unusual abilities. I've heard people say if you use like translation material, it says unusual abilities. Then there was like a time when I heard a bunch of Yuta fans saying it was no second strongest Satoru Gojo in the modern era. But like, I don't know. And here's the thing, right? Is that even wrong? Like specifically in the modern era. in regards to who is a Jujutsu sorcerer. I mean, I guess if you like use base Hikari, and even then, Hikari barely counts within the world of modern Jujutsu sorcery because he was like kicked out a year ago. So like in terms of modern stuff, yeah, it makes sense because that's also like a statement that happened before like liberated Maki was a thing. So like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. That Yuta statement's weird, but regardless, we see both the second strongest and the Mad Gambler. Like, yeah, I've been hit. And specifically, note what they say here. If by seriously punched you mean taking a blow from his limitless technique, then yes, I have. And Hikari says the same thing. Although Kirawa was looking like, did this happen? Like, were you guys sparring without me one day? And little details. I still love how Kashimo has refused to sit down. Like, I've come full circle. First, I was clowning on Kashimo for standing around, but now it's like, fine. He's just not going to do anything. Well, here's the thing, right? Because it's not a good look for Kashimo no matter what, right? Because let's go in the hypothetical timeline where Sukuna wins and Kashimo jumps in next. He's going to be fighting a super duper crazy fatigue Sukuna, like an insanely fatigued Sukuna, like to the point where I'm pretty like, I don't know, I don't have a warrior's pride. I really don't, because I'm not a warrior. But like, that would be like me hopping in on my bro. That sounds wrong. I mean, it's the current year, but that would be like me playing fighters against my friend after they've like burnt through half their health doing something. Like, I have no idea how it would happen. That would essentially be me jumping my friend. Like, oh no, here's a better example because this is more applicable. In Smash Bros, whenever we're playing like 8-player Smash, I'm a terrible human being. All right, you don't want to play 8-player Smash with me because usually what I'll do, even though I don't usually main them, I will pick Robin. And if we are on a remotely flat stage, which, you know, all 8-player Smash stages kind of have to be, I will hide in the corner. And I will use Thoron when you aren't looking. So like, that is me. Like, I essentially, and it literally is Thoron and electric ability in Kashimo. Because literally what happens is, I will be sitting in the corner spamming Thoron. And since I'm one of the best players on, like, in my little friend group that does play Smash, if anyone tries to actually run the ones with me before it's one's time, usually I'll just mollywop. Like, it just be like that when it be like that. like I'll grab him, I'll throw him off stage, and usually I'll like back air him or I'll spike him with the 11 sword. It'd be like that. But typically by the time it gets to 1v1 status again, like by the time the other people have finally worn each other down, there's me. 3 stocks, maybe 50% damage. It's them. 1 stock, 50% damage. Like, who do you think is going to win? Like, does that make me a better player than my homie who has the 1 stock left? No, it's because I camped and watched and maybe threw in a few bits of damage here and there. Like, I don't think it's fair. So whenever I'm playing 8-player Smash, if I win that way, it literally is because I just find it hilarious to watch them rage out. Like, that's not me ever claiming like, oh yeah, I fought them at their strongest. I fought them at their best. No, I clearly didn't. I waited. I waited until it was the most prime opportunity to actually whoop their behind. So like, that's the same thing with Kajimo here. I'm still a little bit disappointed in bro, the fact that he's just chilling, but at the same time, he hasn't sat down. He is ready. I'll give him that. He is ready. Still, I don't get it though. How is he gonna reach there? That's my main thing, right? Let's say in the world where Gojo loses, a world that won't happen, in the world where Gojo loses, Kashimo sees, all right, I'm next. Is he literally going to have to sprint to Shinjuku? Where are they? Like, unless they're like in a flying fortress right above Shinjuku, how are they even going to, like, what reason does Sukuna have to stick around? Let's say Sukuna beats Gojo. Can't he just leave? Like straight up just vanish? Like, and to be fair, I'm not sure they could find him if he really wanted to hide. Like, if Sukuna could go missing for a whole month and Kashimo didn't run the ones with him then, I highly doubt, and I mean highly doubt, that he'd be able to find Sukuna, especially since he'd be low on cursed energy. Sukuna would be like, whew, oh, that was a kind of rough ordinary guy. Deuces. And he would disappear. I don't know. The actual more likely scenario where I see Kashimo fighting somebody is if when Gojo wins and he teleports back and be like, "Hey, whew, someone do something with Megami. I don't know. I kicked Sukuna out. Sudam with him." And then Kashimo's like, "Hey, Mr. Strongest. I'm gonna need my ones." Like that's the more likely scenario I see where Kashimo actually gets a fight. But sorry, I went super duper on a tangent here just because I like I like seeing Kashimo standing in the background. This is such an interest. I wish we could see this trio in action. Like Kiraro would be cool too, mainly because their technique could be super duper fun with this trio in particular. Can you imagine like the opponent fighting them with the whole star constellation stuff going on? But like Kashimo, I pointed at Akari, said Kashimo. Kashimo, Yuta, and Akari sounds like such a devious trio. Like obviously the devious duo is Akari and Kashimo, but can you imagine Yuta being thrown in there? Obviously, Rika would have to come out the clutch. That would be such a cool trio. But they do admit that they've been seriously hit by the Limitless, which is interesting. I'm assuming the blow from the Limitless is a punch, but can you imagine if like Gojo just genuinely hit them with a red or a purple? Like out of nowhere, he's like, "Okay, Yuta, your technique is mimicry, right?" And Yuta's like, "Yeah, I'd say so." "Okay, mimic this," and he just launches off with a red or a blue straight at Yuta's face. It's like, no. Because to be fair, under most contexts, like I was talking about how Yuta should have seen the Limitless a bunch, but really, would he have? I don't think so. Like Gojo rarely fights in front of them. Like think of all the fights Gojo's been in the series that have had like people watching or been recorded. He used purple at the Kyoto Goodwill event, but Yuta wasn't even there. Obviously, Yuta was not there to watch the Jogo fight. Gojo's fight versus Miguel Yuta was definitely not there either. And the only one he could hypothetically have footage of is Shibuya when he was fighting the disaster curses because Mekamaru recorded everything. But even then, Gojo wasn't really using his curse technique. The only one he really used curse technique wise was maybe blue to amp his speed, which you're pretty hard pressed to tell, and I think the infinity to wipe out Hanami. I think those are the only two he used. So Yuta actually doesn't have that much exposure to the Limitless. So Gojo, after determining that, oh, you have mimicry, let me put something in your back pocket, kid, and just loading him up with like all the different attacks. The only thing Yuta would take. I think Yuta could eat a red. I think Yuta could eat a purple. Not purple. Not that. There we go. I misspoke. He cannot eat a purple, but I think he could eat a red or a blue. I genuinely think that. Mainly because like if Jogo can eat a casual red, Yuta can eat a casual red. A blues are weird, but like he can survive a blue. But we do get to see. Kusakabe goes on to explain that, yeah, all right, so the reason that thing may have hurt a little bit more is because his fist is enhanced with cursed energy. And at the moment of impact, blue repeatedly absorbs the surrounding space. So that's interesting. That's even weirder than I thought. Like, I thought from the Raws, and I thought how some people had theorized before, I thought instead of like absorbing the space, it would cause like just a pulling effect. Like essentially the punch that's pushing you away is simultaneously dragging you in, causing like a super crumple effect, maybe messing up your internal organs a bit. But the way Kusakabe describes it here, his fist is enhanced with curse energy, and at the moment of impact, blue repeatedly absorbs the surrounding space. It's like if we're going with the way blue works, where it like compresses things into itself onto a point, that it's worse than just getting pulled into a punch. Like I described it as someone pushes you and then someone punches you. Like you're getting pushed into the force of the punch. No, it's not like you're getting pushed into the force of the punch, but you're getting pushed into the force of a punch, and then the punch is intentionally crumpling you around the fist. And since Gojo's fists, once reinforced, are like literal probably diamond, you are getting crumpled around diamond and having your organs, your entire body sucked into a concise point, which explains why it can cause like probably internal damage. Because we get to see that Akari mentions it isn't just stronger. It feels like you've been clocked by a counterattack after preparing for a regular blow. It's the absolute worst. Which is interesting. It's interesting that he says counterattack. Because like it's a punch, bro. Like I guess like I actually do kind of get what he means though for a counter attack, because like once again, it's the push and pull that are happening simultaneously. The punch is meant to send you away. A punch is not supposed to magnetize you to the to the wielder of punch. But since blue is happening, it is kind of magnetizing you to the wielder of punch as you're being pushed away. So you're not just getting attacked. A regular blow would just be a punch. You're getting attacked and you're getting counterattacked technically because you're being pulled towards. That's a very interesting way to describe it. And of course, Kirara asked the natural question, did it hurt? And Kirara, are you asking if a hit from the Limitless hurt or not? I don't know, Kirara. You tell me. Like, do you think it wouldn't hurt? I don't know. That one feels a little bit weird. Like, yeah, it would hurt. And I love, once again, in a similar way to sharing panels between Trash and Itadori Yuji, both you in a car and go, it made me hurt. Which is interesting. I wonder, once again, I do legit think it has like an organ rearranging effect, because like these guys have taken some hits. Like think about the kind of hits both of these individuals have taken. Even in base, like these guys are beefy. Like base Sakari obviously not as beefy, but Yuta in base is like an omega tank. That man is beefy as all get out. But it made him hurl. We've seen this man have limbs charred off, like body parts annihilated, thrown multiple areas, slammed in the back with like space manipulation. And the thing that got him to whap wasn't Geto, wasn't Uro, wasn't Ryu. It was Gojo, likely just giving him a love tap. Like, I don't think Gojo ever went remotely close to 100% against either of these individuals. So Gojo was probably like, Naitotoba, boom! Just like love tap their gut. And then, boom. they boomed everywhere. But for that being the case, we see that Itadori actually remembers something very similar to this. Oh, Nanaman had said something about that too. And we get a flashback to Chad, the myth, the monster, the legend himself, Nanami Kento. If you intend on continuing as a sorcerer, make it a point to not compare yourself to Gojo-san. That man is able to produce critical hits as if they are your run-of-the-mill job, while I struggle to perform them in the first place. Put it bluntly, he can't be kept up with. Which is, once again, true. I mean, I forgot to mention this in the spoiler talk, even though I said I was going to mention it because I kept forgetting to mention it. I'm going to say it now so I don't forget it later. Instantly forgot. No, am I kidding? I immediately actually forget. But no, the thing that I wanted to mention with Gojo and the critical hits was the idea of like, oh, here it is. There was the statement by Gojo that 400-ish years ago, the head of the Gojo clan was a wielder of the Limitless and the Six Eyes, and the head of the Zenin clan was a wielder of the Ten Shadows. And there's the statement made that, oh, you know, all that time ago, during whatever period it was, you know, we kind of offed each other. You know what I'm talking about? Like, that was essentially Gojo explaining to Megami, oh, yeah, it could get tragic. New paddock. You know it's automatic. Like, he's essentially hyping Megami up to see how strong he could be. But I'm convinced. I am genuinely convinced. I know this may sound crazy, but I'm genuinely convinced that that Limitless plus Six Eyes user was not Gojo. Was simply not. Like, I think Gojo is the exception. I think he's not the rule for what a Limitless and Six Eyes user could be. I will admit, considering purple is something that exists, there have been people close to Gojo, because purple would not even be a theory. I mean, maybe if it was just theory, but it sounds like it's a technique that's actually been used before. But it's a technique so rare that the Zenin clan doesn't know about it. Like Toji Fushiguro, one of the most knowledgeable characters in the series in terms of the other great clans, because of how much information is out there, didn't know about purple. That was something that caught him completely off guard. So presumably, the thing that lost, the person that lost to Maharaga, because presumably that's what Megami thinks. When Megami's summoning Maharaga, he's like, this is probably how the previous user used it. in the battle with the Six Eyes and Limitless user, presumably that wielder did not have purple. I don't think they did. Mainly because if they were anywhere near the level of Gojo, and Sukuna is fearing, shaking and quivering in his boots, that Mahoraga, no proper adaptation, would get absolutely one tap by Gojo. I don't know. I don't think that original clan head that perished was like that. I think at best they were like pre-awakened Gojo. Very, very powerful, but with only blue at one's disposal, I don't see them beating Mahoraga either. Because Mahoraga would just adapt. I don't think blue is going to be able to annihilate Mahoraga in one shot. You do need a purple, I guess, a red in Gojo's case. So I think that is the scenario there. I don't think the Six Eyes user from all that time ago was Gojo. I think Gojo really is the exception to the rule. If I had to take a guess, and that's even like stated. Like if from 400 years ago, like there's no statements about like a birth shaking the balance of the world like Gojo did. I think Gojo's the exception. He is not the rule. So once again, it's up in the air on whether or not Gojo could just body bag a 10 shadows. I don't even think it is. I think Gojo would body bag every other 10 shadows user that isn't named Ryoma and Sukuna. I think it's simple as that because they couldn't like face tank. Like the big thing about Sukuna when it comes to using Mahoraga is that Sukuna, the big old king of curses himself, he can face tank for Mahoraga specifically. He can get the stuff adapted to. Meanwhile, I'm not sure. I don't think any other previous 10 shadows user can. But it's interesting going back to what Nanami said. Sorry, I just wanted to say that because it's been a thought that's been lingering in my mind for forever now, but I've never actually said it. My brain goes on 15 different tangents whenever I record these things. But interesting how Nanami says he struggled to perform them in the first place. Isn't the ratio technique literally just critical hits? Like, isn't every single strike of Nanami supposed to be a critical hit? Like, I get it's not as effective, but like, Nanami, it's your whole technique, bro. Like, you literally find the faults in things to land critical hits. I'm not sure that you struggle to make them or struggle to perform them in the first place. I don't know. That feels like a little bit weird. I wonder what the official translation says on that. I mean, I guess like critical hits could also mean, but then again, no, Nanami is the record holder for consecutive black flashes. So like, I don't even know. Well, maybe not at this point in this. I don't know when this conversation took place, but I think it may have been. Maybe it was before Yuji went crazy on the black flash number. But with that being the case, interesting. But Nanami does bring up a fantastic point. Going back to, ironically enough, the discussion of why Gojo is the exception, not the rule. Yeah, you can't keep up with Satoru Gojo. No one can. Like, look at the King of Curses. Even he can barely keep up. And that, once again, puts the statement that Gojo made super duper into question about his kids surpassing him. I don't know, Gojo. I don't see Maki surpassing you. I really don't. Even though Maki is what, 16, 17? I think at the oldest. I don't see her surpassing you. Sure, she's equal to Toji now, so that does give, she's nowhere near her prime physically, technically. So her already being an equivalent demonic fighter, a war deity equal to Toji's good, but I don't think she's transcending your level. Hikari, that jackpot stuff is really, really, he's not transcending your level, Gojo. Even Yuta Okotsu, until he can get rid of that 5-minute timer, I don't see him surpassing you, Gojo. And like Itadori, lost cause. And Megumi, maybe a lost cause. So like, and Nobara, even if she is still alive, maybe a lost cause. So like, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of an impossible task that Gojo's put them up to. To catch up to him is like to catch a man at the top of a mountain, but the mountain keeps getting wider. Like, it's not like Gojo's stagnated. It's not like Gojo now, 28-year-old, is the same as he was when he first awakened against Toji. No, bro just kept getting better. He kept getting stronger. So it's not even like they had like a stagnant thing to chase. The only time they'd be able to like remotely chase Gojo is when he starts to get old. when he starts to go old and gray. And even then, if he can still maintain the limitless and still maintain the neutral infinity, he still ain't beating him. He could literally just stand there and they wouldn't be able to do anything to him until they open domain. But then he just opens domain back and they insta lose. So I don't know. I feel like Gojo really is like this unsurmountable peak, which once again, it fits into his narrative. Don't get me wrong. Like, that's why Gege said on numerous occasions, he's just hard to write around. Like, he's annoying to write around. He's just so strong. He's so powerful. And we know Gojo is someone who wants certain things, like people to surpass him, but that doesn't mean it can happen, which is the most likely scenario. But we do get to see, obviously. The boy Ino, he pulls the mask down. Hey, Ino. Mad respect. Mad respect for my boy Nanami. I would get Nanami's cleaver, but like that thing's kind of ugly. I love Nanami. I don't love him that much. But with that being the case, Kusakabe goes on to say, hey, I'm just trying to let you know. From here on out, I ain't got any clue what Gojo's doing. But that's interesting that he says that, because he explained Gojo's like punching phenomena. But he's like, I don't know what he's doing now. I guess. Interesting. And that does make me wonder, because Kusakabe explains it with blue, but can Gojo use it with red? Can he use it with purple? What happens if he starts to code? Oh, sweet mother of mercy, look at this man. But essentially what I wonder is, can Gojo take techniques other than blue and use them to create critical hits, to cause certain issues? Like, I'm assuming red would actually kind of be more annoying, because it'll just send Sukuna flying. Like, punching him with red and then boom, sending him to the moon. That probably wouldn't be too fun, because he would just go flying and then Gojo to chase him. But Gojo can teleport, so there's really, he could just start wombo comboing Sukuna with red. But the main one I want to see if he can slide around that fist of his, I want to see if he can start punching with purple. Because if he can start punching with purple, then he could start causing problems. I think he could genuinely start causing issues then, because we know purple should be able to harm Sukuna. Even 20 finger. Especially remember, 20 finger, despite being Omega, Dega, Korega efficient, does not have the 6 eyes. He does not have a basically 0 curse energy loss. Like, despite Gojo's brain being fried, if I had to take a guess on how much cursed energy he lost, it's probably, being generous, 10%. Being generous, like straight up, just based on how efficient the 6 eyes are stated to be, I think that's being super duper generous to Sukuna, and the idea that Gojo may have lost 10% cursed energy. He may have lost like 0.01%. Like, genuinely, because of how efficient the 6 eyes are. But Sukuna, he's been kind of, even with his insane efficiency, he has been burning that limited curse energy amount. Sure, is it more than twice of Yuta's? Yes. But bro has dropped what? 1, 2, 3 domains back to back. He's used literally probably the highest level of RCT in the series. Verbatim. Like, I'd say, like, obviously healing others is supposed to be the highest level of RCT, but like, restoring the brain, the part of the brain that has the CT engraved onto it, is so impossible that Yuta Okotsu, one of the 3 people in the entire verse who can actually heal other people with RCT, is like, that should have been impossible. I don't know how he did it. Like, Sukuna did that thrice, I think he did it 3 times. So he's burned a whole bunch of RCT on that. He popped 3 domains that all got destroyed. He's been using regular RCT to heal like gaping chest wounds, to heal facial damage on multiple occasions. Like, he should, well, once again, just assuming he's like omega efficient, maybe he's lost, like, he's been standing and taking hits just fine though. Like, as crazy as this panel is, it is crazy. With that being the case, I think he's probably lost about like 20%. I still think I think Sukuna's reservoirs are still crazy. Is it like 3? But the thing is though, like 3 domains? Like, notably, no one comments. Like, Kashimo comments that Sukuna's efficiency is crazy because he's able to switch between his innate technique and domain implication on the fly. But like, no one's mentioned, not even Gojo has mentioned like how much cursed energy Sukuna has left. And he, if anyone, should be able to tell. So Intriguing, very intriguing, Mr. Satoru. But speaking of Mr. Satoru, golly, I think he's literally dragging him down a building. But like this is the kind of fight choreography I like. I like when you, I always call it this, slightly superhuman. Not slightly superhuman. It is superhuman. It is just insanely superhuman. But like believably superhuman. One thing I always bring up Dragon Ball, because Dragon Ball is like the perfect reference for everything. One thing about Dragon Ball, after a while, I think Super after the Battle of Gods arc is the one that loses the most, because I still think shaking the universe and nearly destroying it is a pretty impressive way of showing the power scale. But one thing that Super tends to struggle with later on in its battles, and even you can definitely say this applies to some sections of Z, but I do think Kid Buu versus Super Saiyan 3 Goku shows it really well. I think, not really. Cell versus Gohan and Goku, I think but then again, that's a little bit more of a martial arts thing. The fighters get so strong. They get so super crazy powerful. They're literally wiping universes to the point where like the environment doesn't really matter anymore. Like that's why a lot of Dragon Ball fights sort of end up in these big old wastelands or flat tournament areas or anything like that. The Tournament of Power rectifies this a little bit by destroying the Tournament of Power stage, so there's like dynamism in where the environments are. That's why the end of Super in the anime is so cool, because you have like 17 Goku, Frieza leaping across all these different stones, and you have Jiren fighting it. Like that's really really good. But with characters of the scale of Jujutsu Kaisen, I'd say specifically Jujutsu Kaisen and Sakamoto Days, they're both very good at this. The utilization of the environment to show the scale of these characters' abilities is fantastic. Like, Gojo is a deity, but he's not so deific that he isn't above grabbing his opponent by the collar and dragging them through a building. Like that's just a little bit metal, ladies and gentlemen. I love it. I love the casual display of force. He literally drags Sakura around and just starts eating him. Like, that's beautiful. I love the chaotic energy that's behind this. And like, look at his face. He's having so much fun. He's having so much fun dragging the King of Curses like this. And hey, I mean, I don't blame him. And I love the extra little details that Gege goes through. Like showing all the individual pebbles being thrown about by Gojo just going mad, going crazy. Though admittedly, once again, I'll get to it in a little bit. I'll talk about it once he does something. I think he does it the very next page. But we see, obviously, Sukuna's way too bulky to get done in by that. That's the one big issue. Something like that, if done to any other character in the series, would probably have like mutilated them. Like Gojo dragging you through a building, likely using the blue amplification thing. That would probably like mutilate 99.9% of the verse. But it's 20 finger Sukuna, so he kind of just eats it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But Gojo's like, "Hey, you want dessert?" And proceeds to there's an attack that's very similar to this. Like, it's not like the main one that's coming to mind, just because I love Infinity War, is Thanos closing the gauntlet and like the stones activating. But like, there's another ability that works like this, or someone with a similar ability. Like, I don't think this is a direct reference. Like, I think something else in this chapter is a direct reference. But whew. Oh, gotta stay hydrated, folks. But something about that closing one's fist and like something collapsing around. Maybe it's just a common thing, but I feel like if it's a common thing, I'd be able to name what I think it's a reference to, or not even a reference, what I think it's similar to. Someone closes their fist. I think it's just like telekinesis powers. Like usually someone will be like, and then like they'll crush their fist as hard as possible, and then like a person will get crushed by debris. That's what this reminds me of. And you see, geez, Gojo is so jacked, bro. like bro really is like he is Toji. He basically just is white haired Toji, bro. Down to the fit, down to the gains, down to the sun. Like legitimately, bro, he's just white haired Toji. And we do get to see that Sukuna's like, Nani daisuke, and proceeds to get crushed by a whole bunch of rubble. But my thing is, right? Dude, no more time for games, bro. Stop. like every single thing that Gojo does is just helping Sukuna adapt. This isn't gonna do damage to the King of Curses. Like, I've been clowning on Sukuna a little bit recently because I feel like he's low key a bit underwhelming, but I think that's mainly like the bias in me. Like I really wanted to see forearm Sukuna. Call me a criminal, all right? Like I really wanted to see. If not, like you didn't have to fully revert back to it. I understand that Sukuna is very, very difficult to draw. Trust me. I know from firsthand experience how annoying that Sukuna is to draw. But like at least give Megami like a second set of arms or something. This is another like sneaking suspicion reason why I think Gojo's going to win. It's a lot easier to believe that Megami could revert back from having the two extra eyes and just having them close and disappear, like we saw with Itadori, than it would be for Megami to have like an extra set of arms and a tummy mouth removed. Like it smells like to me because there's no reason. Like at least in my opinion, there's no reason. I know Megami or no when Yorozu asked, "Oh, switch skins," and she mentions the fact that Sukuna can change at any time. The reason Sukuna didn't change in that fight is because he wanted to look like Megami, and he wanted to use Megami's technique very specifically to absolutely crush Megami's soul and make Megami believe he slayed his own sister. But against Gojo, I mean, maybe it is. Once again, it's not fraudulent. It's a smart villain move, but it seems a little lowbrow. I guess you could argue Sukuna's keeping Megami's face because it'll unnerve Gojo and make Gojo hesitate. But like, come on now, Sukuna, if you really are the strongest, if Gojo really is just an ordinary guy who claimed the title of the strongest because you weren't there, then do you need to really resort to such tactics? Do you really? Like, you're telling me you can't just beat him traditionally? Like, even with that, I think the buff of having 4 arms is a much bigger buff than having Gojo slightly hesitate against you. Like, specifically remember the grasshopper curse versus Yuji. Like, this is a case where I believe 4 arms versus 2 arms would genuinely work out because you two are actually relative in skill and speed and power and all that. So I don't know. Like, at least spawn the extra 2 arms, bro. But regardless of that, even without the extra 2 arms, and even with me clowning on Sukuna for a little bit because of him not changing his face, I I think Gojo should know at this point. Stuff like this ain't gonna work. It's not gonna cook effectively enough. He needs to pull out purples, like, and it needs to just straight be purples too, because without using stuff like that, he's just letting the wheels spin. And now, admittedly, I think you guys did correct me on the spoiler discussion. I thought the wheel just adapted to the technique as a whole, but it seems like the translation and y'all are correct in the sense that it doesn't adapt to the entire technique. It adapts to specific techniques used against it. But even still, letting it adapt to blue, letting it adapt to red. It's already adapted Unlimited Void. So, like, you don't want Sukuna to just have Maharaga adapt to more and more and more of your kit. You really don't. You would rather annihilate Maharaga completely or annihilate Sukuna before he even summons Maharaga. Because here's the thing, right? No, I'll talk about that in a little bit. I'll talk about the other thing a little bit. Hopefully my brain can remember it in a couple seconds. But of course, considering this is Realman Sukuna, sealing him in a debris Pokeball is not going to do anything, and he leaps right on out. And of course, it seems like Gojo's ready for this because he immediately goes to step on him. I mean, I'd make jokes, but Megami's body is still like 15. I think maybe 16. Like Sukuna's 1,000. Can I make jokes? What's the legal boundary? Who are we counting here? Like technically, they're both coexisting at the same time, right? So he is simultaneously 1,000, and he's simultaneously like 15. Nah, we're gonna be safe. We won't make the jokes, but we really get to see as Sukuna lunges out, he does manage to weave the kick that Gojo goes for. I thought it was a stomp, but it does look like Gojo's reeling back with a kick. Sorry, I've been kind of glazing over the fight itself. I love the dynamism in these poses. Like specifically, like I love this angle for Gojo, seeing him lunging forward, pushing off his feet. You get the arm grabbed around Sukuna's collar. You get Gojo reeled back with the arm. You get these really good angles, like the throwing, the tossing of Sukuna. It's like a good proper toss too. Like he put his hips into it. Like well, then again, I don't know for sure. But I think I was told when I was younger or like recently that like the way you like throw something effectively, the reason humans are so good at throwing things in comparison to other species, even other species of like apes and stuff like that, like other people from not other people, other animals from the common ancestor, that kind of leads us to all what is it? What is our group? What is the group called? I know we fall into the same category as like orangutans. What is it? What is it? Primates. Sorry. Trust me, I swear I know words. But primates, the reason we're a lot better at throwing things is because we're able to do things like this. We're able to like put our hips into it. We're able to put that proper torque on the spin. That's why like when you see baseball players throw, they don't throw like that. They like lean into it and then like boom, like they put a whole ton of effort into it. These are hard poses to draw, but Gege is doing it. The dynamism in this fight is fantastic. Look at all these unique poses, like this halfway midair squat into a crossover on the left arm into the clinch with the right, and even this right here, like the pulling back into a kick. Like I love the posing in this chapter. This is fantastic. Some of Gege's finest work within this fight so far. But obviously, Sukuna weaves. This is very interesting. Sukuna weaves it, but look at where the wheel is relative to Sukuna. It's like the wheel lagged a little bit. Like, look at this. The wheel is supposed to be consistently lingering above his head, like presumably like here in area. But the wheel, before it turned black, by the way, because I could get it lagging behind if it turned black. But before the wheel turned black, Gojo kicks, the wheel's back here. So it's not floating directly above Sukuna's head anymore. It's like back around here. And then the wheel gets super duper far away. Like it's basically hovering above his back instead of hovering above his head. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. I wonder, once again, because you guys brought up a fantastic point, and I'll talk about it in a second. But I wonder if that thing can get yanked away. But we do get to see, I think this is like a blue or something. Maybe that is like the concentration of the spear that Gojo caused. The spear finally falling apart because he's not focusing on it anymore. And we see that, oh, okay, I get it. So what ends up happening here is I think Gojo uses this to draw Sukuna upwards. That's why he looks shocked here. He uses, presumably blue, to absorb the space. The space is being absorbed, so Sukuna is being dragged up. But Gojo goes to hit him. But Sukuna, using domain amplification... Did I hit it? Yeah, I hit it. All right. Sorry. I saw a fly out the corner of my eye. And I had to get it up out of here. I'm sorry. That's the fun thing about recording live. Like usually whenever I do like regular mic recordings, you would never see something like that. But for the memes and the readers, I'm going to leave that in. But we see that Sukuna gets dragged up. He gets dragged up by, presumably this is the blue. He gets dragged up. Gojo's like this, like if this is Sukuna's head, Gojo's foot is like right here. Like it's so close to making contact. But seemingly enough, Sukuna manages to activate domain amplification, turning the wheel black. I'm not sure if he like fully flips. I'm guessing Gojo whiffed. Just barely, though. I don't think it was a dramatic whiff, an insane whiff, a multiversal whiff. I don't think it was that. But he just barely managed to whiff. And then Sukuna does a flip to avoid the rest of it, which is crazy. Remember, Sukuna's being pulled upwards by this blue, presumably. But he managed to do a full flip and turn this stomp into an opportunity for him. He looks so devious in this panel, bro. This is the most devious I've ever seen Sukuna so far in this fight. But he goes for this devious stomp. This has to be a blitz, right? Like, look at this. Gojo's right here. He's about to get stomped on. Presumably Sukuna's looking dead at Gojo. His foot is in midair. But by the time Sukuna's foot reaches anything, one, you see like the little shock reaction here. And Gojo's like, Killua, is that you? Killua, what are you doing here? Wrong manga, Killua. And I think, in the Chimera Ant arc, didn't Killua wear a fit very similar to this? I think his black sleeve top was like long sleeve though. But this is like just straight up a Killua moment. A patented Killua moment. Like, look at this. How many of y'all wish you were Sukuna right now, though? How many Gojos is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like, this is like 6 Gojos. How many of y'all wish you were getting tag teamed by 6 Gojos? It's okay. It's a safe space. You don't have to lie to me. I've seen it. I've seen it. I know a lot of y'all wish you were Sukuna right now. But very, very interesting. I wonder if this is legitimately like Gojo's just after image it, like he's literally just image stepping that quickly to the point where it's looking like there are multiple Gojos, or if this is like some weird application of the Limitless. I'm assuming it's just speed, right? I'm assuming he's just using blue plus his own innate speed so much that it looks like it's causing a phenomenon like this. But then again, like he's consistently, like he must be moving insanely fast then, because notably he's keeping up the illusion phenomena of these Gojos just Chad walking around. But then this Gojo comes in for a punch, but it looks like, I'm not sure if Sukuna weaves the punch or if it phases through him because it's not the real Gojo. But he turns and catches the real Gojo, which is very impressive. Like, once again, it's very impressive that Sukuna is able to read the battlefield that well. But I guess what he probably ended up doing, just as some Gojo copium. I'm a Gojo glaze. Let me have some copium real quick. What I'm assuming is done here is that Gojo didn't actually like suppress his cursed energy well enough. So Sukuna, once again, could just read where the energy was coming from. He's like, that one's not real. Boom, and he's like, you're right there, and he caught him. But once again, considering Gojo has shown the ability to like off guard Sukuna a bunch of times, it's very impressive that Sukuna is able to just react and catch. Though, once again, look at the wheel. The wheel is black. And also, actually, no, the wheel doesn't lag too much here. But presumably, Gojo should have hit the wheel somewhere around here. The wheel, if his foot in Sukuna's head are that close, the wheel should have like come in contact a bit. But it looks like it didn't. It looks like Gojo somehow whipped the wheel too. But with that being the case, Sukuna says, gotcha. And as Sukuna grins, Gojo goes, whoopsie. I can't, notably, I am not really an anime watcher, ironically enough. Like, I'm technically an anime manga YouTube channel, but I don't actually watch the anime that much. I'm super interested to see how Gojo's voice actor in Japanese and English hit this line. Are they really gonna hit the whoopsie and then immediately be forced to block? But we see Sukuna goes in for the punch, but Gojo does actually manage to block it. And since the wheel is black, you know what that means. Domain amplification. So Gojo actually does need to block the hit here. And I think this is one of the most like solid blows that Sukuna has landed on Gojo in their fight so far. Like, this is actually send Gojo flying. Does it do much damage to him? Seemingly not. Like, I don't think it does much damage to his hand, but still, very, very impressive. And we see that as Gojo gets sent flying. Once again, look at that dynamism in these poses, bro. And why is Gojo double-cheeked up on a Thursday afternoon? Well, Thursday morning at my time. But we see Gojo, he does a flip. He does a whole flip. And I love how this is like the same way Sukuna's been punching for a while now. Like, I really remember in like the first proper start of the fight, he like also swung like this, that horror haymaker. I love that. But we see he grabs onto a traffic light, somehow does not break it, and lands right on top. And there have been multiple comparisons of this, but once again, double cheeked up, bro. Golly. But there have been multiple comparisons here. Like, people have said this is the Itachi pose. I think the one I get the most though is the Spider-Man. Like, this does seemingly hit just different like a Spider-Man pose. I do like that one in comparison to the Itachi pose, because the Itachi pose works like on top of a building in front of the moon. This is just like in the middle of broad daylight. This is something I could genuinely see Spider-Man doing, like landing on top of a traffic light and just, you really gonna rob that bank? Well, I'm here. You know that ain't gonna happen. But I could literally see something like that happen. However, with that being the case, we see Gojo and Sukuna, and they stare each other down. And with that being the case, we cut away from the battle. Though, take note, after punching Gojo, the wheel is dark, but now the wheel has returned to light. It is active again. And we see, I'm not sure who says this. Maybe it's, I have no idea. But the word treasure used in the chant to manifest Maharaga, along with the wheel, represents the complete circulation and harmony. Once Maharaga has been attacked, the wheel turns, starting the adaptation. So, interesting. The word treasure used in the chant to manifest Maharaga, along with that wheel, represents complete circulation and harmony. So the wheel does. I really, and to be fair, it's going to be happening soon, not too soon. I think there's a little bit because we still got to do Mahito versus Nakamaru. We got to do all of early Shibuya. It's going to be a while, but soon enough, we're going to hear how this sounds in the anime. And that's another thing, anime specific, that I do want to hear. I want to hear how it sounds when the wheel hits the... I feel like it's when I say... like it has the... like you got to choke a bit on the end. But with that being the case, the wheel spins. And Kusakabe's like, the wheel is turning! Yes. Yes, Kusakabe. That... The wheel did in fact turn. Congratulations. But we do get to see that Higuruma asks, did he adapt? And that is a very worthy question. And we see that Gojo studying with the Six Eyes, like, okay. When he uses domain amplification to touch me, the wheel turns black. It's safe to assume that it interrupts any adaptation process. So he can't activate his domain, but he can use domain amplification, probably because of the area of the brain I hit was in charge of barrier techniques. This one feels... Okay, I'm not going to get as super duper tangenty or super duper annoyed or nettled as I did at the end of 230, or not at the end, in the middle of 230. That does feel a little weird. Like, at least from my... Once again, just going purely from my understanding of Limited Void. Unlimited Void isn't biased. Like, it doesn't just hit the part of the brain that's in charge of brain. Like, it hits the brain. Like, it overloads information. So you would think that anything information related in the brain, if hit by Unlimited Void, would be overstuffed and like it would be a mess. Like the brain would be scrambled. But I guess not. Feels like now I do, because okay, apparently Unlimited Void attacks the brain, which is a part of the body, and it attacks the soul. And apparently you can redirect it if you have two souls. All right. And I'm just gonna keep it at that. Something tells me Gege doesn't even fully understand how Unlimited Void works. I'll be completely real with you. Something tells me Gege doesn't even fully understand. But with that being the case, you see as Gojo realizes that, okay, so the best way to keep the wheel deactivated is to just keep attacking him in close range, because he's going to be forced to use amplification to actually hit. And then Sukuna realizes, in order to avoid adaptation, he isn't using anything aside from his curse technique Lapse. Well, it's to be expected. So, this does fit into the idea that Gojo, in order to avoid adaptation, is using simpler techniques. I think that is a little bit foolish. I don't think you want any techniques adapted, but it makes sense. I'm presuming he's not going to use red, just as a backup contingency to one-shot Maharaga. But, with that being the case, I have a question. A lot of y'all just said this thing is indestructible. And like that may be true, because y'all brought up a fantastic point. When Maharaga got annihilated in Shibuya by a 15-finger flame arrow, that thing was untouched. Like, there wasn't even a mark on it. Even though that flame arrow hit like Maharaga dead in the forehead, and the wheel was right above its head. So the wheel can eat at bare minimum 15-finger level attacks. But can it eat an hollow purple, though? Can it eat a hollow purple? That's my question. I would begin to experiment. Once again, if I'm Gojo, I would begin to experiment. A lot of people brought up the idea that, well, the Six Eyes probably told him that it's indestructible. But the thing about that is, you would think the Six Eyes would also tell him blue's not going to work, red's not going to work, anything other than purple is not going to work against Sukuna. Because it clearly hasn't. Like, notably, Sukuna, I don't think he takes any damage so far in this chapter. Like, from the start of the chapter, like even being dragged through buildings, being crushed by rubble, all that. I mean, well, there are a couple minor scratches on him, but like nothing's really working on Sukuna. And who knows? These scratches may just be old. So like, I'm not sure if the Six Eyes are telling bro anything. If anything, the Six Eyes would tell him, you have to hit him hard and hit him fast. Use a Lapse purple or something. Use a Lapse hollow purple instead of a Lapse blue. Because nothing else is really going to work. Nothing else is going to do numbers. Which once again makes me wonder, did he just pull off like mini purples inside the domain? Like how else did he damage Sukuna enough? Whew. Sorry. How else did he damage Sukuna now? Like, presumably he also like punched through Sukuna. So maybe he just needs to do that more. But once again, Sukuna can recover that pretty easily. So he's pretty much gonna have to put his hand through Sukuna's chest or something. Like, fighting him in the way he has before is not, it's not gonna work now. And especially he shouldn't be doing so while the wheel is out clicking his every move. However, there's one thing I do have to say about the wheel after commenting on how cool this is. They wait on top of the traffic light for the red light, and then the moment the light goes green, they immediately get active. I love that. And they just immediately clash. But here's my thing, right? Does Gojo even have a reason to fear Maharaga? Like legit, like think about it for a second. At least the current Maharaga. Because, I mean, here's the thing, right? If you take the idea that Maharaga's been amped, which I do, and you go with the fact that, well, in 229, it was shown that Maharaga was able to like appear and stab Unlimited Void before Gojo could do anything to it. Then you could argue Maharaga could be relative to Gojo or faster than him, and then with the blade, he could stab Gojo, and then that could lead to issues because we know the if it has similar effects to RCT, and we know that things like the Tranquil Deer can negate things infused with CT through RCT, then maybe a stab for Maharaga would be lethal. But if we go with the idea that Maharaga isn't anything of a threat to Gojo, like Sukuna and Gojo both believe they could one-tap it, then, I mean, if Maharaga comes out, perfect. The wheel's off Sukuna's head. Grab Sukuna and teleport somewhere else. You'd either have to D7 and respawn Maharaga, and then in that case you just teleport somewhere else, and just keep burning Sukuna's CE. Might as well, if you can't one-shot it anymore. I'm not sure, because it'd be one thing if Sukuna gained a passive adaptation to the Limitless. If he was then suddenly immune, but you guys are right. It doesn't work that way. Sukuna doesn't gain immunity to the things he's hit by, or else he wouldn't have had to swap out for Maharaga on Perfect Spear. Then, with that being the case, why not just, I don't know, let him adapt? I mean, maybe that's what Gojo's doing now. Maybe he's just like, well, there really isn't a threat to Maharaga. But then again, what he says at the end of the chapter contradicts that. So I'm not sure. Is Maharaga a threat or is it not a threat? Because the way Sukuna put it way back in the Shadow Realm immediately sounds like it's not a threat. And even Gojo believes he could one-tap it, or at least avoid it. But it is enough of a threat that Gojo doesn't want it adapting? I don't know. I would understand if Gojo's afraid of, like, slaying other Shikigami. Like, personally, once again, if I'm Sukuna and I want to beat Gojo, I want as strong as a duo partner that I can get. And the best way to do that is sack everything. Throw Nue at him, let him one-tap it. Throw Myriad Elephant at him, let him one-tap it. Throw Divine Dogs at him, let him one-tap it. Those are worthless to me, essentially. Because I, myself, as Sukuna, need the 10 Shadows only for Gojo. Literally only for Gojo. I'm not Megami. I have no sentimental attachment to any of these creatures. So ultimately, just making Maharaga more powerful is the only thing I need. So I would legit just sack everything. Sack everything to Gojo, let him one-shot all of it, and then let Maharaga get super duper buff. And then bada bing bada boom, you have Giga Maharaga, and then that could probably be enough to do something to Gojo. But no, it seems like Sukuna, since he hasn't summoned a single other one of the 10 Shadows, it feels like he's just banking on Maharaga suddenly becoming a threat once it adapts to the Limitless. But I don't think it will. I legit think, unless, once again, you go with the fact that it should be faster than Gojo now, based on it stabbing a Limited Void before Gojo could react, I think Gojo can kind of just ignore it, or teleport it away, or teleport Sukuna away. Like, he doesn't actually have to deal with Maharaga. He's fighting the battle on his own terms right now. But, regardless of any tangent like that, another thing I'm wondering, while the wheel could be indestructible while white, or just non-dark, I wonder if the technique is shut down, does the durability of the wheel lower? Could Gojo hypothetically hope to stop the wheel by shattering it or attacking it when it's on dark mode? I wonder. I really do, because I feel like that has to have some more effect. Because notably, the wheel keeps floating above his head. It'd be one thing. It'd be funny if it did. But can you imagine every single time he used domain amplification, like the wheel just plopped and bounced off his head, it like landed on the ground, and then it would like levitate back up to the top of his head every single time he turned it back on. I don't know, but I wonder if it's more fragile or if it's just always indestructible. Though we do get to see that Gojo, keeping it with the creativity, throws the traffic light he was just on at Sukuna. And obviously, once again, Gojo, king of curses, bro. This isn't gonna work. That ain't gonna work. Like, bro. And we see Sukuna literally grabs it. And we had him looking omega devious. We had him looking insanely devious. Wait, not here. We had him looking diabolically devious in this panel right here. The most Sukuna looking panel we've gotten out of Maguna, in my opinion. And then we have, unarguably to me, the most Megami looking panel. Like, he looks so young and spry and free in this panel. I don't know, something about it. Though he grabs the stoplight and throws it at Gojo. Though admittedly, like, dude, in the same vein to Gojo, why are you throwing a traffic light that's actually going to do anything? Sukuna, why are you throwing a traffic light like that's actually going to do anything? Like, legitimately, you see the traffic light stop right in front of Gojo's face because of the neutral limitless. And yeah, these two are kind of in a stalemate right now because Gojo isn't. Here's the thing, though. I think purples could do numbers. I think either interesting. The wheel is not in this shot. I guess the wheel would be annoying to draw in this shot, but technically it should be like right here. But with that being the case, you would genuinely think, if I had to take a guess, that purples would do numbers. You could, like, if Gojo could launch a purple at Sukuna, it would do enough numbers that he could just start, like, spamming purples at him. Start doing serious numbers. But he hasn't. I don't know why. And he should have a maximum, right? Why not use the maximum? That's not domain. That's a different part of the brain, presumably. Why not whip out a maximum on him? Do something that'll actually do damage. Like, as cool as the dynamic choreography in this fight is, Gojo's kind of just like punching a brick wall. Like, it's cool looking. Like, he's punching a brick wall in super duper fancy ways. He's hitting him with the fist of fury, but like, still punching a brick wall. It's not going to do anything. And Sukuna, I don't even blame Sukuna for messing around because once again, he has nothing to fear. Every single attack Gojo uses against him that's not lethal just further adapts Mahoraga for him. Further makes his partner more dangerous. So he's fine. Like, I don't even blame Sukuna for like throwing a traffic light. He's just having fun messing around. But Gojo, hurry up. Get a little bit more lethal, bro. This is not the time. But we do get to see that everyone notes he isn't bringing out Mahoraga. And we see that Mei, once again, isn't Mei, but like, Gege. I get it, bro. Just give her some hair detail. Did she did not always. Hold on. Where's my Googler? There's my Googler. I'm about to look it up. Did she always have no detail in her hair? I swear she used to have detail in her hair. Like, maybe I'm just misremembering it, but hold on, bro. I need to see this because there's no way she just always looked like this, bro. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Mei manga. Mei manga. Yeah, okay. I knew I wasn't crazy. Her hair did used to have detail. I guess Gege just got. I don't want to call him lazy because once again, take every single art or any critique I give of any mangaka with not a bag, a metric ton of salt. I could never be a mangaka. I'm just a guy on the internet that likes to talk about what mangaka make. So take it like that. But come on, Gege. Like, I'm not sure. Does Gege have assistants? I'm pretty sure Gege has assistants. Like, you can't just assign one. Like, I once again, I'm not a good artist. I'm really not. But I could like quickly throw some lines in Mei's hair, like just a little bit. Like, you don't have to do much. You don't have to go crazy. Like, I see earlier in the manga she had like the full proper braid detailing. That could be a lot to do. I understand that, especially when you're drawing such dynamic poses for everything else. But like, 1, 2, I have a pencil. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Took 5 seconds. I don't know, bro. You could, because it just looks weird. Like, there's such a lack of detail that it kind of looks like an extra lump of skin or like a growth or something on her face rather than her hair. You can barely tell this is hair. If you don't know who Mei's character design before this, you may just think she has like an elephant trunk sticking out of her head. But yeah, Mei's right. It does adapt. It has adapted to Unlimited Void 5 times. It is interesting. But we see that Akari thinks, oh wait, does that mean it needs to turn several times in order to adapt to Gojo-san's limitless techniques? Which Kusakabe says, it's possible, considering how little regard those two have for what's impossible. that is one of my favorite lines of the chapter. These two have no care for the rules and laws of nature, so probably. We don't know for sure, but probably. And we see that is true. That once again confirms what you guys were saying, that Mahoraga doesn't automatically adapt to the entire technique, just individual uses of the technique. Which, once again, I think he should leap straight to purple. I don't know. I wouldn't be playing games like this. But then we get to my favorite part of the chapter. The two strongest just chilling. They're just vibing. They're just having a good old time, living their lives. Like, I love this. They like stop fighting. Like, there's just no reason for them to stop engaging. But I'm so close to the end of the chapter. Can you chill out? Please, please. I'm just trying to finish recording. You're gonna have to deal with the hounds. But I love this. They're in the middle of a fight that literally decides the fate of the Jujutsu world. And they're waiting for the stop sign. They're waiting for the walk light. Even then, they aren't even really dealing with that because they're like walking across buildings. And we see that, I think it's Sukuna who asks, you paying attention? You awake, Gojo? And Gojo's like, you need the wheel to spin a total of 4 times, yeah? That leaves 3 more. But that leaves 3 more for what? Oh, okay. Well, there we go. Gojo immediately says it. Sorry. 3 more spins of the wheel until Mahoraga adapts to my infinity. So, how? Because at least from my understanding, Gojo's specifically been using the infinity. Because that's the thing. In the Raws, the term infinity was used as well. So I'm going to, once again, you boys got to check the officials. But how is it adapting to infinity? Mahoraga, or someone who's adapting for Mahoraga, like in the case of Sukuna, needs to be hit by attacks, right? The infinity isn't an attack. It's not even really a thing. Like, at least for Blue, you see that orb that appears in space that'll cause that. For Red, it literally is a projectile that Gojo can launch, like a spirit one. We literally can see Hollow Purple. It is just a big old projectile. But the infinity is just something that exists naturally. How is it adapting to a spatial concept when the spatial concept isn't being used to attack it? Like, once again, I would get it if Gojo was using the infinity like he used it against Hanami in the train station. And yeah, of course, he'd be able to adapt to it because it's being used as an offensive attack. But right now, the neutral limitless, the infinity, isn't being used as an attack. So how is he adapting? I don't know. That feels weird. That feels weird. That feels like it's a break of Mahoraga's rules. Once again, I get it. Common sense won't prevail in the battle of the strongest pencil. But like, my nose is clogged, so I can't take a solid whiff. But it smells like a little bit of malarkey. I don't know. That don't seem right. I don't think that should be appropriate. I feel like that can't make sense. Look at Meme. Just draw a little bit of detail in the hair, bro. But you see, everyone's shocked. And we see that Yuji's like, wait, just 3 spins left? We're the first 2. And we see that Sukuna's like, looks like we have ourselves a countdown to when that smirk will be wiped off your face, that is. But not really. Once again, right? If Mahoraga comes out, and it is specifically, it's not a limitless adaptation, it's a Infinity in Blue adaptation. Sukuna? By your own admission, Mahoraga can still get 1-tapped. But once again, if my Giga Brain is Giga Braining at all, maybe Sukuna wants Mahoraga to go. Specifically after it's adapted to infinity somehow. I still don't fully get how that works. Someone please explain that to me. How is it adapting to something that's not attacking it? Just let me know. But with that being the case, maybe Sukuna wants to do that, because maybe if Mahoraga perishes with current adaptations, its totality will drip feed adaptations to the rest of the 10 Shadows. Whether there be, like, maybe I've heard people say maybe the 2 Divine Dogs were actually like 1 Shikigami, or like 1 Shikigami each. Like, they counted as 1 and 2, and then the rest, and Mahoraga really is the 10th and final Shikigami, maybe, or even just the rest. If they all gain the Infinity adaptation, then sure, even if they're all slower and not as useful as Mahoraga and can't adapt anymore, the fact that they all be able to bypass Infinity would be really, really good. But presumably, if let's say the last 3 spins happen and it specifically adapts to the Infinity, Sukuna drops the wheel into the shadow, pulls Mahoraga out. Gojo hits it with Hollow Purple. It's done. Like that's it. I don't know. I don't really see. Or Gojo hits it with red, I guess, and it's done. I don't know. It feels a little bit off. However, we do get Gojo cheesing completely. That's such a powerful cheese, but like he's literally like he's peeling his lips back to cheese like that. Right back at you, Kirby. Right back at you. I'll beat you gone before you even hit 3 spins. Are you sure, Gojo? Are you sure? He does look like he's tweaking though. Well, that's good. He's starting to lose his mind. We need him to start. We need Toji fight Gojo to come back. So we do need him to start losing his mind. But we see as Sukuna smiles, excited and enjoying himself, Angel's like, oh no. He's forgotten about Megami. Oh no, she asked. He hasn't forgotten about Megami, has he? And Itadori, knowing Gojo well enough at this point, is like, he might have. He may have completely just given up on Megami. And I love the main man, the myth, the legend himself, Kashimo, being like, double ellipses. No, I think that may be a triple ellipses. Like, it's fine. Let him forget. Even though I don't like the fact that Kashimo is just standing on the sidelines and not getting active, I do like how he's still a funny little guy. He's just a funny little goober. He's like, yeah, it's fine. Let him forget. And the deadly countdown begins. We are on break next week, but I think all manga are on break next week, so I've got time to cook. A couple videos I've been cooking. I think a couple videos that are going to drop. It's going to be some of the wasted potential videos. Yuki is probably going to be the one first, because I feel like that's the biggest one for me. Then probably Angel. Then probably Yorozu. Those are 3 big wasted potential videos I've been thinking of for a while. I'm going to finally do the Gojo Maximum video. I think that'll be fun. I want to talk about that. I may talk about Sukuna's Maximum too. I may theorize on the final Shikigami or the grand plan. I've had other videos planned too, but I don't want to say what those are. So we gonna cook. But speaking of cooking, Gege cooked. Gege definitely, he got in the kitchen with this chapter. Even though there's a few things that I find a little bit wonky, like somehow the Infinity getting adapted to, even though the Infinity isn't an attack. Even though that's the only thing I find wonky. And obviously, Gojo hitting Sukuna with things that he knows are not going to work, and they're just going to help Sukuna adapt Mahoraga. But regardless, ignoring those 2 little gripes I have of the chapter, this is probably, at least in terms of choreography, this is probably my favorite chapter of the Gojo vs. Sukuna fight. It has pretty much everything. It incorporates the environment in really cool ways. It has Gojo starting to lose his mind a little bit. Cool manipulations of blue. You get to see Sukuna fight in really interesting ways. You get to see him manipulate domain amplification through the wheel. You get to see the wheel move around a whole bunch, which I think is really, really neat. You get to see the Shadow Clone Jutsu or the Killua reference here. You get to see these 2 just be people as well. You get to see that nice humanization of both, where they kind of just grin and communicate and have fun with each other. These 2 are the strongest. This is the only battle they'll have in their entire lives that actually pushes them even slightly. And I love seeing that. This is fantastic. And like I said, this is probably my favorite part of the chapter, where they just chill out and talk for a bit. It's nice. It's nice. It's really, really nice. I really enjoy it. So overall, an Omega W chapter. However, that's what I think. Please, what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure the notification bell so you do not miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below where you can support for as low as one a month. Get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Dago the Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a very big thank you to our $3 members, Recliner Plays and Red Wolf 4765. I'd like to give another very big thank you to our $5 patrons, Alex Ice Rose, Art Goon, DemXLND, Midnight Gemlord, Red Wolf 4765, and Sean. I'd like to give another very big thank you to our $10 patrons, Demokami, Joaquin, and Ravi Uchiha. I'd like to give another gargantuan thank you to our $25 member, Alex Ice Rose.